the chart. Today we're going to take a look at Kamala Harris. But my energy offering today is going to be a Mercury energetic wash because Kamala is Mercury ruled. If you'd like to receive that, just be open to it. If not, just say no thanks. And I'll begin that now, and it will last for about 9 minutes and shut off. Okay, let's get going. So Kamala Harris has Gemini rising. The ruler of that is Mercury. It's in her 5th house of creativity and what we put out into the world. She has a North Node in Gemini right on the ascendant. And the North Node is what we strive for in this life, to meet our fullest expression. And for her, that's communicating. Plain and simple. It's our personality out in the world, so she likes to communicate. She's all about it. Also our physical body with a Mercury ruled ascendant. She has a lot of nervous energy. Okay. The 2nd house of her chart is ruled by the moon. Her moon is in the 11th house and is in Aries. The 2nd house is our values. It's also traditionally called the house of money. But it's our values, our self-worth, kind of what's important to us. And the ruler of that is the moon in Aries in the 11th. So the 11th is the general public, and it's where we fight for causes. And her moon is in Mars-ruled Aries up there. So she feels very strongly about fighting for causes that she believes in. The 3rd house is communication, siblings, short journeys, things like that. She has Mars there, so she's very driven to communicate. Everything kind of in her chart goes back to Mercury, goes back to the need to communicate. Mars is in Leo, which is a leader sign, is the king. And because it rules her moon up in the 11th, and they're making a positive aspect to each other, there's a ton of energy around that. The 4th house is home, is where we come from, our roots, our childhood home. And she has Venus, Uranus, and Pluto there. So she is deeply affected by the way that she was raised. There may have been some moving around, some transformation or upset or trauma around it. And Virgo's on the cusp of her 4th. So again, this house is also Mercury ruled. The 5th house is what we create and what we put out, traditionally the house of children. But it looks like, let's see, she has Venus on the cusp of it. Venus is in the 4th. It all seems to go back to this theme of how I communicate, what I communicate, when I communicate, and that's just, I wouldn't want to debate her. Let me put it that way. The sun, the core of who she is in this house of creativity. It is conjunct or sitting next to Mercury and Scorpio. So Mercury and Scorpio, and as the ruler of her chart particularly, Mercury and Scorpio likes to get to the bottom of things. It is the placement for the private investigator. It is a placement for someone who looks below the surface. Pluto rules Scorpio, and Pluto's all about going beneath the surface and digging things up to be looked at, to be brought out into the light. So it's a real driving force, a real motivation for her to do that. The 6th house is work, health, like day-to-day work. and health, with Neptune placed right on the cusp of the 6th house. She's probably sensitive to drugs and alcohol, like to the point that she needs to be careful with like any kind of prescriptions or being put under something like that. Neptune's nebulous, associated with the 6th house. It's like a 6th house placement of Neptune can be like something's wrong with you, but the doctors can't figure out what, because there's some kind of haze over it, but also a sensitivity to chemicals and things like that. Neptune's also associated with idealism, and so she probably has a strong streak of that around her work. The 7th house is partnerships, with the part of fortune sitting right on the cusp of the 7th house. She benefits through marriage. With the South Node there, that's kind of what she wants to do, what she's comfortable with. It's just being in partnership. But her North Node says, no, in this lifetime you have to go out and communicate. The 8th house is like other people's money, sex, death, taxes. It is the deeper meaning of life, really. It's the Plutonian Scorpion house. And Saturn, the ruler of it, because she has Capricorn on the cusp, is up in the 9th. The ruler of the 8th up in the 9th, she's constantly seeking the deeper meaning once again. The 9th house is our higher spirituality, our higher philosophies, I guess is the word that you would use for the 9th house. Aquarius is on the cusp of it. It's very progressive. It's humanitarian. And she has Saturn in Aquarius right before the midheaven, right before the cusp of the 10th. In astrology, there's a thing called the Gogolin sectors, and it's right before the 10th house and right before the ascendant. And these are supposed to be career indicators if you have a planet placed there. With Saturn, which rules things like politics, corporations, things like that. In Aquarius, which would rule basically someone who's progressive, right? Humanitarian. So it kind of spells out really a progressive politician. She has Pisces on the midheaven. It's ruled by Neptune down in the 6th house of service. And that Neptune squares Mars, which that aspect in itself gives personal charisma, right? In a sense that she has a service to provide. And, you know, with Chiron, the wounded healer, up in the 10th house of career, opposing Pluto, Uranus, Venus down in the 4th. Something about the way she was raised, like she feels like she needs to heal it in the public eye. That's what that feels like to me. The 11th house is like the wider public, right? And it's friends, future goals, groups, organizations that we might belong to. Aries is on the cusp of it. It's ruled by Mars in the 3rd house of communication. And again, you know, Moon trine Mars in the fire signs, tied to this idea of I have a cause. I need to communicate about it. Taurus is on the cusp of her 12th. It is ruled by Venus in the 4th. So the 12th, you know, is the hidden, the subconscious, the other side of the veil, and the collective. And it feels like those wounds from the way she was raised or from her genetic line or whatever are going to be healed through this connection. Interesting. Through this communication with the larger collective. Jupiter in the 12th is an expansion, or, you know, angelic help, or like this broader need, like it's an expansive area for her, this broader need to help the collective heal from some of these, kind of feels like genetic wounds. Let me see if there's some aspects that I've missed. Mars. This lady, she's very tenacious. Saturn trine the sun, and Mercury is someone who just keeps going until they get what they want. She's very tenacious, very ambitious. Saturn also makes a positive aspect to her moon. She's steady. She's steady going after what she wants. Very charismatic. And again, you wouldn't want to debate this lady. She's very smart, and she's very fiery. And anybody with Mercury in Scorpio, and it's in what's called mutual reception with Pluto. Pluto's in Virgo, Mercury's in Scorpio. So Pluto's in Mercury sign, ruled sign, and Mercury's in a Pluto ruled sign, and so they're mutual reception. But anytime you have like Pluto aspects to Mercury, or Mercury in Scorpio, they can, someone like that can really cut you down with words. Like, she's a wordsmith. She's a word warrior. So whereas, the two presidential candidates both kind of struggle with words, she doesn't have that problem. She's a word warrior. Yeah. Sometimes she's got Saturn squaring Mars, so sometimes I feel like her actions get blocked, or there's sometimes a stop and go energy, but she definitely has the energy with Pluto in aspect to Mars, or I'm sorry, Jupiter in aspect to Mars, to go after basically her values, what she wants to express, what she needs to express. It's more of, I have things to fight for, and so that's what I'm fixing to do. Okay, if you enjoyed that, like, subscribe, share. Have a wonderful day. If there's a suggestion for someone you'd like me to take a look at, please let me know in the comments or email me.